Clark Richardson, and I'm going to start off with our land acknowledgement. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms part of the traditional and treaty territories of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, learn, and live. Ms. Tarente?
Thank you very much. And the Durham District School Board is committed to learning environments that are safe, welcoming, respectful, equitable, accessible, inclusive, and free from discrimination while placing human rights and equity at the center.
Hello and welcome to Representation Matters, Celebrating Black Excellence. My name is Chike Ndubisi, and this is my co-facilitator, Isaiah Edwards. We are happy to have you here today and have previous Richardson students join us today. This event is important because having students that are Black, that have already gone ahead of us and already experienced the things we're about to experience, they can tell us their obstacles and all the things they had to overcome to be where they are right now. But right now, we would like to introduce our principal, Mr. Marhaj, to begin words of welcome.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me all right. Hello and welcome to Representation Matters, Celebrating Black Excellence. My name is Jeff Maharaj, and I'm the very proud principal of J. Clark Richardson Collegiate. Today, I'm more than honored to bring greetings from the administration team to our speakers and, of course, our Richardson student body. Before I get started, I want to express my thanks and gratitude to our panelists and to Ms. Tarente and her committee that planned today's event. Your hard work is appreciated, and I'm very excited to see how this all comes together. Today's presentation aims to connect Richardson students with recent graduates that are excelling in their post-secondary lives. It is important that we hear their stories and identify how they have sought Black excellence. Our panelists will share how hard work, overcoming barriers, and creating their own narrative has been essential to their journey. Continuously moving forward, instilling a growth mindset, and pursuing dreams are common themes that you will hear about today. Please take the time to listen closely and to identify what you have in common with these young people. Think hard about how you can pursue excellence in your own lives as you plan your life after Richardson. Thank you for your time today. Please enjoy Representation Matters, Celebrating Black Excellence. I would like to turn things back over to Chike.
Before we begin, we will share a brief overview of our time together. Each of our panelists will speak for 4 minutes and share their stories with us. At the end, the audience will have the opportunity to ask the panel questions, and Isaiah and myself will help facilitate their portion.
It is a pleasure to introduce our first alumni.
Isaiah, I think you're on mute right now.
Oh, sorry. Graduated from JCR in 2010, completed BSCN in 2015, and now a registered nurse. Rochelle has worked in a variety of roles, including hospital, community, and Durham College. One aspiration is to work as an occupational health nurse for a large corporation or to travel in nursing.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. So yes, my name is Rochelle. I'm an RN, graduated from UOIT in 2015. Along the way in getting there, I did have some challenges. In high school, I kind of did lose my way a little bit, and I kind of became that senioritis, lazy grade 12 student who felt that because they got into their university program, they didn't really have to try anymore or keep on top of their studies. So I did have a setback where I didn't quite meet my admission requirements by 2%. So I actually lost my first acceptance to a nursing program at Ryerson. And that kind of was a big blow to my confidence. And so I had to do some reevaluating there. I ended up coming back for kind of one extra semester the summer right after, where I was able to pick up my grades and fulfill my requirements for my new program where I applied to UOIT. So that was good. But in that year and getting the acceptance and waiting until the following fall, I did end up working. And I felt that because I was working, maybe I didn't want to go to school. And I thought it was kind of like a fast track because, we all were young. We want our own money, our own freedom, independence. And you kind of lose track of the long haul. You kind of want the short-term gain. And I had to, again, stop and reflect and understand that, yes, money's great right now, and this is all great, but 10 years from now, do I want to be working this part-time job that isn't maybe, for, I don't know, a better word, feasible for my future self? Am I going to be able to meet all of the goals I want to meet with this job? And the answer was no. So I did, of course, go complete my program at UOIT. Lots of challenges along the way. You feel, even after graduating, that you have to constantly prove yourself, because I find in my profession now, there's kind of a big gap. Either they have a lot of like younger people who just starting out, and then I feel like there's a gap and it's people who can be your parents' age or your aunt's, uncle's age. So I feel like at times there's kind of a fight for respect, whereas you want to respect your elders in the workplace, but they also need to understand that they're equal and they're not your parents. So there's a certain level of understanding you have to come to, and I find that's a constant struggle. I also find sometimes with certain populations, like their generations don't maybe say the nicest things all the time, and they have a lot of critique based on, I guess, their past experience. So it can be tough to overcome that. I just find that, I don't know, you have to understand that you may want to react in a certain way to things and comments, and people have to say, and not take the feedback, but it's only going to help you later on. And you have to understand that being professional is kind of like the number one thing, but you also have to understand that you need to kind of stand up for yourself and present yourself in a way that demands respect, but you also need to give it to others. I found that some of my greatest successes were not staying in the same spot for too long. It's good to gain different experiences in your profession, whether you choose sciences, whether you choose business or engineering, whatever. Try different things to see what you like, because you do have a lot of time to figure out what you want to do. Not everything is going to be so clear at the beginning. You may love something at one point and find that later on you don't love it so much. When I first started nursing, I started in surgery and I thought it was the best thing ever. I learned so much, but then I found that within that, like my other friends were trying out new areas in the hospital. So I started doing that, and I've worked in dialysis, which I think is great. I still work there. Now I work in community, but I've also been kind of a lab assistant / teacher's aide type thing, working in the lab with upcoming nursing graduates at Durham College. So that was fun. It's more hands-on and teaching skills. So you get to try different things. And I also urge everyone to never stop learning. Just because I finish my degree now, I still take online courses. I've taken like courses about telemetry and the cardiac system. And right now, one of my goals is to be an occupational nurse and maybe work for a large company or maybe a sports team. So I have to take kind of a whole another program with that. And that's basically up to like 3 to 4 semesters. So there's 8 extra courses. So things like that. I think learning is never stopped. Don't ever think that you stop learning or that you know everything. I think that's probably my biggest advice to give. Yeah, so that's it.
Thanks, Rochelle. Our next speaker is Shantae Lockhart. Shantae Lockhart is 24 years old of West Indian descent, who is an emerging Toronto-based artist. She's a recent graduate of Ontario College of Art and Design. She creates vibrant, large-scale oil paintings of Black women. Although these women usually come from the sketches in her sketchbook, they tend to resemble women in her life. While creating her work, she thinks a lot about photography, the way in which photography has become so accessible, and our obsession with photographing oneself and consuming images of one another living their everyday lives, eating food, talking on the phone, or blowing bubblegum. Growing up in a digital age, she was fed sensational and inviting images of white models. This in turn fueled her to find ways to celebrate and represent Black bodies. Systemic racism and the pain and injustice of Black communities have endured throughout history, and today has been one of the main anchors that has grounded her work. Shantae intends to produce works of art that depict Black people in a way that are positive, diverse, enlightened, and relatable, ultimately depicting Black people as free.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good day. I'm Shantae. So, as he said, I'm an artist. So I'm just going to talk about my journey, how I ended up actually getting into art, because I think it's something that's not really talked about as much in school in general, choosing like a creative career, which a lot of people sometimes are like, you shouldn't do it, but it actually turned out to be a really interesting and positive thing in my life. So I'm going to tell you guys kind of how I got there. I started to fall in love with art actually at J. Clark. Before probably grade 11, I didn't know much about art. I kind of just like, oh yeah, like I like to draw, like this is cool, like, you know what I mean? But in grade 11 and grade 12, my art teacher, she was really amazing. She really kind of dived deeper into art and what it's really about. And I made my first painting in grade 11 and I just fell in love with it. And she told me, like, you know, you can go to art school after. My parents always wanted me to go to university. It was like something that all of my siblings did. But I was never really like in love with math or English or anything like that. Like none of those things were like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do forever. You know what I mean? So when my art teacher told me, you know, you can go to university for art, I was like, really? You can? So in grade 12, I did have a rough time as well. I struggled with sometimes waking up in the morning, going to class on time, and things like that. So I really had to push through my last year to be able to get the marks to get into college. I didn't have a portfolio ready because to get into OCAD University, you have to have a portfolio. I didn't have that. I was kind of all over the place. But my art teacher recommended that I do a year of college, and there I was able to create a portfolio to be able to apply to OCAD University. I think bridging programs are really interesting things that you can look into if you feel like you may not know exactly what you want to do, or you may not know, you may not have necessarily all the things you need to get into the program you want to be in. Going to college and kind of like feeling things out is, I feel like, a really good space to go into if you're not sure, which in grade 12, not everyone's going to be sure what they want to do. You're super young, which you probably don't think you're very young, but you are. So don't be hard on yourself if you don't really know what you want to do. So yeah, that helped me to create my portfolio. And then I got into OCAD University, which was a whole different world for me. I was surrounded by artists and designers, and I felt like it was a really amazing space to be able to kind of learn things that I never really knew about. I learned a lot about like social justice. I learned a lot about, especially, you know, this is a panel for Black students. And, you know, I think it's really important for people of color and Black students to have people to look up to and realize that you have many different paths. And of course, any students, that you have many different paths that you can go on. And art is a really cool one. So if you're interested in doing art, I say go for it. Look into like, also, if of course art is sometimes difficult to get a job after, but there's also a lot of past in design and stuff like that, that kind of, you're able to be a creative person, but you can bring it into the real world and make a career out of it. Like Rochelle was saying, you have to continue learning. Right now, I'm going to college for marketing in a creative way. So I'm going to be learning how to market digitally in a creative way for businesses. And that's kind of how I'm taking my degree in art and putting it into a space where I can have a job. So of course, university is not easy. College is not easy. There's a lot of challenges there. You have to spend a lot of sleepless nights, but just go for it. Don't be afraid. And if something amazing will come out of it. All my friends that have done schooling after, I find that they are really, at this time, I'm 24 now, we're all like happy we went. We're happy that things are starting to come together, and it may not seem like it's there, but do it and you will fall in love with something. So yeah.
Thank you, Shantae. We will pause here to ask the audience if they have any questions for our two first presenters.
I had a question. Could I ask that? Is that okay?
Yes, go ahead, Nikita.
Okay. So my question was basically, did you ever find yourself comparing the timeline of your life to, say, the timeline of your peers? And how did you deal with that?
Do you want to go first?
No, you go ahead.
I think that's a normal thing. And even now, I still kind of my timeline compared to or what my colleagues, especially to come back for. I saw it more as a setback, whereas in hindsight, sorry, is someone else's. There you go. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Sorry, and having to come back for a year, I thought that was like the biggest deal and everyone would be so much far ahead of me. But now, like 11 years later after graduating, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. You need to understand that you're all on your own journey, as corny as that sounds. And everyone's life is different and things don't always work out the same as what your friends are doing, and things come up in life, and some people have to take breaks from school, or some people may need to stop and work for a little bit, or family issues come up, so you can't compare yourself to what other people are doing. And it's not just with jobs and school. Like some people compare like, oh, like my friend bought a house, my friend got married, my friend did this. Like it really doesn't matter. Everyone's timeline's different. And I think, yes, it never kind of goes away where you're kind of peeking at what other people are doing, but the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter what someone else is doing because their circumstances are different than your own. So I would say try not to compare.
Shantae, did you want to respond as well?
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like even now, sometimes the pressure of graduating from university, I feel that like, okay, I need to start my career. I need to do this, and that. But then I look at people who are older than me and I talk to them and they're like, just take your time. Like you are extremely young. You're going to try different things. You're going to be in different positions at different times. Just because one person has something right now doesn't mean you're not going to have it in 2 years. So it's really just to focus on what's working for you. Take your time. Don't stress out. Like I said, you're very young and you will get to where you need to be. So it will work out for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Isaiah, go ahead.
I have a question for the both of you guys. Building your art portfolio, and I have a couple of friends who are in nursing school. It's very taxing and is it takes a lot of your time. How did you guys manage your time between school slash nursing and or art?
In terms of building your art portfolio, depending on what type of art you did, I found that going on things like Pinterest and YouTube and stuff like that, that really helped me direct what I need to get into the school that I wanted to get into. One thing about the art portfolio is just make it you. Make sure each piece is talking about your art, what you love, and trust me, the school, when you're applying to school, you're thinking like, oh my gosh, like, are they going to like my art? But generally, when you put hard work into it, they're going to see that. And when you talk about it, they're going to see that you put that work into that artwork. And they're going to know that when you get into art school, you're building yourself as an artist. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. I'm sure your portfolio is amazing. So, and also just every day do a little bit of art. And over the year of grade 12, your art portfolio will come together for sure.
So I found that at the beginning, it was really hard to prioritize and stay on top of things, because with placement and classes, it can be very taxing. I wasn't the best, I'm not going to lie and say I was the greatest at time management, because I wasn't. I did procrastinate quite a bit on things, but as I went through school and found how uncomfortable that could be, and I'm adding more stress to an already stressful situation, I learned to prioritize sleep, as much sleep as you can get with getting your coursework done. I recommend a calendar or an agenda of some sort. I don't know, it's different for different programs. This nursing is a high pressure program. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. It can be kind of the best thing you can do and the worst at the same time, because you really have to be focused and put a lot of effort and time into it. So I would say prioritize sleep, schedule. I don't know, and kind of make sure you don't bottle things in. It helped actually a lot having friends in school that you can talk to and see what they're doing to kind of manage their time and cope with things. Because I found that you learn from other people. Like they'll be like, oh, I go for a walk every day after class, or I take 15 minutes a day and just zone out and go on my phone. Things like that. People have different coping mechanisms. So I think just kind of bouncing your ideas off each other, you'll find something that works for you.
Okay. Thank you, Rochelle and Shantae. Our next speaker will be Wayne Sente. Wayne Sente. Wayne represents Richardson's class of 2016 and will be graduated from Ryerson University in 2020. Wayne is a former Prime Minister and class valedictorian of 2016. He is now a Ryerson graduate, serial entrepreneur, and law school candidate.
Thank you so much. What's up, everyone? I am super excited to be here and talk to you for a little bit. I want to leave plenty of time for questions, and also I will be super quick. In high school, I did a lot. So grade 9 started off as the grade 9 representative on student government, then moved on to being a grade 10 representative. In grade 11, I was the Minister of Finance. In grade 12, I then became a co-prime minister. In my early years of high school, I was a part of the band for a couple of years in the percussion section. I did volleyball a couple of times, competing at LASA level. I think I may have even been on the track team for like all of 10 minutes. I was really excited to be a part of the theater program as well. In my first year, I was the assistant stage manager, so backstage crew. And throughout the rest of high school for 3 years, I was able to be the co-producer. And so what that meant for me and my struggles throughout high school was really trying to balance it all. And I know there's a few gigs and things that I missed to mention there as well, because in high school I was really focused on having fun and making a difference. And what that meant to me was making sure that other people were having fun and making sure that things went well for everyone. But for myself, I really had a hard time of trying to stay consistent with all the things that I was involved in. I I struggled with being consistent in terms of my approach towards things as well. And so it was a weird balancing act. I went from leading a room full of people who only responded to being yelled at and thinking that they were going to get fired, to walking 3 minutes down the hall to be in another meeting where it was an open discussion and everybody's feelings had to be considered. And we were all just round table open aired, to 30 minutes later, me sitting in a principal's office trying to plead my case for why we should have like a fun fair. And so there was a lot of things going on, and throughout high school, I was really trying to balance that out. And so that is a challenge that still exists until today. I went to Ryerson right after finishing at J. Clark. At Ryerson, I wasn't as involved inside of school. I was still close to everybody who was on some student bodies and board members, but I was mainly focused on my painting business that I ran throughout the summers, all throughout university, and we did pretty well. I was able to help my team have full-time jobs for the summers, employing about anywhere, I think like 5 to 10 full-time staff throughout the years. And now, as a law school applicant, and with acceptances that are there ready for me, so I will be going to law school this September. It is still a lot to balance, and so I think a lot of what I am experiencing, a lot of what I have experienced, in hindsight. So looking back at it, I could see how everything that I have done has prepared me for the next stage. I've seen how me leading different teams have managed or have helped me manage myself now and how I relate to different people. When I was going from yelling at a group of kids to having an open discussion to trying to plead my case, I'm now able to do that with different clients that I have and dealing with different situations differently, and not allowing things in one category of my life to have a negative impact on something else. And so that is still something that I'm learning, continuing to learn. And all throughout my life, it's helped me to be more committed to learning, helped me to be more committed to thriving and having a fun time while doing all of it. And so I'll pretty much leave it at that there. I know there's going to be a few questions, and so I'm willing to answer any questions should the time come for that.
Thanks, Wayne. Our fourth and final panelist, Brianna Nicholson. She is a fifth-year health science student at Ontario Tech University. She is the founder and president of OTS Black Athletes Association for Marginalized Groups, VP of Communications on the Ridgeback Leadership Council, and former captain of OTS Women's Lacrosse Team. Throughout her 5 years at Ontario Tech, she played on the women's lacrosse team, and as a strong leader on and off the field. She was awarded Rookie of the Year in 2016-2017 and MVP in 2018-2019. Her passion for social equity and justice inspired her to create the BAA to help eradicate racism within the Ridgeback community and Ontario University athletics. Promoting and advocating for anti-racism and anti-oppression, Brianna is passionate about eradicating racism. Currently in her final semester, she is working on a research proposal that evaluates the experience of birth giving Indigenous women who have traveled outside of their reserves to give birth with the hues of doulas. Brianna loves traveling and has backpacked around New Zealand and hopes to visit more countries post-COVID.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. So my name is Brianna. I'm a current fifth-year health science student at UOIT or Ontario Tech. They did like a revamp of the name change. But I graduated from J. Clark in 2016 with Wayne. I spent 4 years on RAC. In my last 2 years, I was like the VP of the whole association with one of my best friends. I played a bunch of sports. My main ones were lacrosse and field hockey. I did some volleyball, a little bit of track, a little bit of cheer, like not much though. But some of you guys may have known my sister. Her name is Elise. She was in the musicals and also was an amazing athlete as well. But through university, I actually started off as a kinesiology major at UIT. I was also working 3 jobs, playing varsity lacrosse, taking a full semester. I really found it was so difficult to just to manage it all, and really struggled with time management. So, and like my grades reflected it. Like my grades were very poor. I failed a class. I got so mad at myself. So then I was like, hey, something needs to switch. I need to like learn how to learn, basically. So then I quit a few of my jobs, dropped a class, still played varsity lacrosse, but now it kind of like taught me how to like learn better, and I had to find my ways to learn. And it just wasn't like a thing that happened overnight. Even now, I'm still struggling to like learn how to learn. But through my years of playing lacrosse, like varsity and like outside of school, I've witnessed some poor treatment of any POC or Black athletes that played lacrosse, especially being in a predominantly white sport. So this means that like I didn't really like what I was seeing, especially towards some of my friends who were other Black athletes playing on my team. So I actually experienced some racism within my school, just some unfair treatment towards myself. And I really found I had nowhere to go to, just being a Black woman in a white sport at a mostly white university. I just couldn't connect with anybody and no one I really felt comfortable talking with. So I kind of was like, something needs to change. I feel terrible. It really affected my mental health and also my physical health. So this also happened prior to like the BLM movement got a lot of traction, and that movement really motivated me to change something within my school, something within my reach that I could actually make a change for future Black athletes. So I actually started the Black Athlete Association at my school. I reached out to my athletic directors and was like, something needs to change. Here's my idea. If you're on board, let me know. Let's do it. And they actually were amazing. And they were like, I think that's an amazing idea. Let's do it. And I actually reached out to a few of the athletes at my school, and we have now created the Black Athlete Association. So that's amazing. Our mission is to support Black student athletes while creating a safe space, educate the Black community and also the Ridgeback community on racism in sports, and also hope to end racism within the Durham region community. So a few things that I did struggle with actually while creating this association and just like going through my journey at Ontario Tech is just being afraid to ask for help, really. My pride was too high, and I just couldn't be like, hey, can you help me? Especially with teachers, especially with professors, family members. I just didn't have that connection. I was like, I'll figure it out myself. I'll be there. But I had to realize that no, sometimes their advice will help you. And it was really nice because they kind of guided me and gave me insight on pathways they've taken. So like if people have said, oh, I've done this, this, and that to get here, but we all have the same goal to succeed. So it was really nice to see that there's so many different pathways, and success isn't linear, basically. Like not everyone will have the same pathway. You will have some highs, you'll have some lows, but just to persevere through that and just to take it and be like, how can we take this hard situation and put it into the next one? And how can we succeed from that next one? And just keep reminding yourself that you are on your pathway to success really has helped me. But yeah, that's kind of my journey.
Thank you, Brianna. We have just heard from four phenomenal Richardson grads. We will all now have some time to take a few questions from the audience. Questions may be directed to the whole panel or to an individual speaker or two. Panelists will have approximately 2 minutes to respond.
Shivani, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. This question mainly goes towards the females. Sorry, Wayne. I mean, I like you got the business side of you, and I'm looking into that, so we can connect on that level. But as a colored female, what is the most difficult thing that you struggled with? Because I don't know for anybody else, but for me as a colored female, I struggle with the confidence because you're constantly getting stares. Once you're colored, you have to prove yourself to be equal to someone who's white. And then when you're female, it's even harder because you have to prove yourself to be equal to a male. And you don't just face the racism or the sexism, you face it both one blow. And it just, how did you guys cope with that?
I think one main thing that helped me throughout university is finding a community of people that look like me, that can support me, people I can come to and say, oh, this happened in class, and we can kind of work through things together, and we can bounce ideas off each other. I feel like I have amazing friends from university that look like me, that are Black women or colored women, and we really built each other up, and we were able to support each other in those times when, in reality, when you're going to university, a lot of universities are mostly white. So sometimes it is difficult being the only Black student in the class. You feel isolated and you feel alone. So kind of find those women that can kind of help you get through those 4 years and build you up in that way.
Yes, I for sure agree with that. I've had my two amazing best friends who have played with lacrosse with and who also went to J. Clark, and they really have helped me just get over kind of that imposter syndrome of being like, am I good enough? Am I Black enough to do the things that I am? Am I female enough to do them? Because you'll always get questions, but if you don't strive for your goals, then what are we here for? Definitely just do it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Finding your group of people to help you get through it, who are going through the same things, is probably the best thing you can do. And finding your support system, that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. I still have my best friend from university, and we still talk about things like that all the time. Of course, there's that added pressure you feel. You're the only one in your class or the workplace who looks like you and who you feel understands what you're going through, and different things that come your way and different comments. It's just kind of trying to be confident and understanding that you belong there just as much as anybody else, and just showing everyone that you don't need to question yourself. You belong there just as much as everyone else, and just trying to find your support that way.
I think Chike had a question as well.
Yeah, I have a question for Shantae. I don't know if I'm saying her name right. How is it like being an artist? Because most people don't look at art as an actual job or occupation.
Yeah, that was one of my most difficult things in university when I told anyone, especially people who are older, like, I'm in university, I'm getting a degree in art. Everyone's like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? But you do realize that there's a lot of different areas. If you look around the world, art is literally everywhere. So that's something that we're not really taught, that art is everywhere you look, an artist kind of had a role in that. So it's kind of to find your own little niche. And of course, I'm a painter as well as I'm doing something else as well. It is your own business. So anything that is a business is harder to kind of succeed in. I think it's amazing that we have social media now. As artists, we're able to really create our own platform. We're able to create a space for ourselves to be out there. But for sure, if you want to do anything creative, there are many different options that you can look into, not just painting or just like, you know, the basic things that you think of art. When you think about any packages, an artist had a hand in that. When you think of, you know, buildings that were created, there's, you know, there's art everywhere. So just do some research on it and find your own little niche into that. So yeah.
I have a question for Wayne. What motivated you to become so involved in school, and how did these experiences help you build your resiliency? Because you've done so many different things and been quite active in a number of different areas. How did that help you?
So I came into high school with the mentality of let's just have fun. This is supposed to be an experience where we learn and have fun, so let's do it. And so I did. The mindset I had before high school was I wasn't really good, or I thought I wasn't really good at any one thing. I wasn't the most athletic. I wasn't the most musically inclined. I wasn't the most artistic. I, wasn't the go-to leader for any situation, for any scenario. And so getting into high school, I said, you know what, might as well try it out, do a little bit of everything, get better at stuff, and just do it for the experience. And realizing that there wasn't anybody to be afraid of. Like, if I was in band and I missed a note, the whole band is not going to throw me out the room. If I was on, like, in the volleyball, in the gym, like, the worst that could happen is I don't make the team. And if I do make the team, the worst that could happen is I ride the bench. And so there wasn't that many, negative outcomes were not many negative outcomes were possible. And so you really have the freedom to do whatever it is that you want. And as you start doing it, you start to get better at it, you start to have more fun with it, and you get to explore all your interests. And so throughout high school, I did get to explore all of those interests that I had. And so seeing it in the wavy mirror now, I could see how the lessons I learned on the court while playing volleyball helped me when I was in the theater, working backstage. The teamwork I learned in the gym was the same teamwork that was necessary in the classroom on a group assignment. And one thing that you do in life always kind of bleeds into the other areas of life. Anything you learn in one place, you're able to apply it to different places. And so with that comes the whole bunch of challenges too, right? The hard part of being in theater, of the week before the show when you're doing the absolute most and you're awake for a week straight putting on so many different shows. A lot of those experiences build you up to say, okay, let's go on to the next one. Okay, we got a next game, on to the next game. We got another show, on to the other show. You got another assignment due, let's get it done. Another exam, okay, let's go. And that builds up your walls, that builds up your confidence, builds up your resilience, and really helped me to get through to even where I am now. Thanks for the question. No worries.
Anyone else have any questions for our panelists?
I have a quick question for Wayne. I was thinking, like grade 8, I was thinking becoming an entrepreneur, owning my own business. And one of the ideas I had got shot down because my dad was not comfortable with me taking a transportation course, being a female, and that it's kind of male dominated. And a lot of males don't have respect for a female when it comes to a male dominated workplace. And I'm thinking of something else, but my goal right now is to get into accounting and then go back to school and possibly do business. What would be your suggestion or your recommendation if I'm going to do that? Or as someone who's done a couple business courses and had so much on his plate?
So I think I'm understanding your scenario here. What I don't think I'm in a position to tell you of what you should do. I'll tell you what I would have done. What I would do if I were in your situation is to get a taste for it. Sure, your number one idea may not work out. Your second idea that you are thinking of now that you think you might do eventually, explore it, feel it out a bit. There are many different business opportunities to take. There are many different ideas that can be had. I was told in my first year of an entrepreneurial course that we should be able to come up with business ideas every 10 seconds. We should be able to look at the world and figure out what's wrong and say, hey, this could change, that could change. I could do this, I could do that. And so I would say to get a taste for it. If there is a little bit of something that you're interested in doing, get a taste for it as you go through, what you have supporting going through with your accounting. And as you go through that, get a taste for business, see if you like it, enjoy it, and see how involved you can get with your new business idea. And as you go through life, you would see if that's a door that you still want to be knocking on. Does that kind of answer the question a bit? Yeah, perfect. No worries. Enjoy it. I'm excited to see what it is. And if you ever want to bounce ideas around, we could always talk.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience before we turn it over to Isaiah to wrap things up for today? Okay, Isaiah, do you want to finish off, please?
Thank you again to everyone, and especially our panelists. It is very important that we as young Black students in this world get the opportunity to learn and grow from other Black students who have paved the way for us, so we don't make the same mistakes and or we follow the same, right foot paths that you guys have taken. And we just appreciate the fact that you guys took the time out of your day to come talk to us. And yeah, thank you to the participants. Thank you, Mr. Maharaj, Mr. Jadun, and Mr. Ente for your hosting this for us. And thank you for everyone that came to this event. And, have a nice day.
Thank you so much. And thank you again to our panelists. You were awesome. And to our two amazing facilitators, thank you so much. Before we go, if you feel comfortable, Ms. Jadoon would love to take a picture, as you know. So if you're comfortable turning on your cameras, if you could turn on your cameras, and she'll just take a quick picture, and then we'll be able to wrap things up. I see a couple people leaving there, like I don't want a picture.
I don't know if they want a picture anymore.
So if you're not comfortable, that's okay. You can keep your cameras off and we'll just take the picture quickly.
All good. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you again, everyone. And to our participants, a big thank you so much. It was great to have you back and hear a little bit about what Richardson was like and what you're all up doing right now, which is all so amazing. So thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Haven't given their Insta handles to
Sorry, what was that?
If they could give you, the presenters could give their Insta handles to Ms. Trente. If you guys could do that, that would be great, because I would love to tag you guys in a little bit on Instagram. Follow us at JCR Storm. I'll put our plug into Ms. Trente.
Thanks again, everyone. I appreciate it. We'll be in touch soon. And I'll send the presenters a copy of the recording as well, as soon as it's ready to go.
Okay.